Peace and love, family. I am Noble Kadeem Hananaya Mishael, also known as AlKadeemBey. I reserve all my rights without prejudice. And this is not legal advice in any way, form, or shape. What this video is going to be about today is how the Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666 applies to you. So let's get right into it. So we're talking about the existence of life here, right? In this physical plane, material world as we know it today, right? So become familiar with this term, Cestui Que Vie. London, right? Rome, right? England, 1666. Notice the numbers as well. During the Black Plague and Great Fires of London. Why were there fires? Parliament enacted an act behind closed doors called Cestui Que Vie Act 1666. So whatever this act is about, it was things done behind closed doors. The act being debated was to subrogate the rights. Do not overlook this term. Rights of men and women, meaning all men and women were declared dead, which is also what black legally means. It means death. That's why we can't be black people, because if we become black, we become lost at sea. Because at sea, you're dealing with nations and navigation and commerce. So if you are lost at sea, that means you belong to no nation, which means you're stateless, refugee. So this is why nationality is important. African American people, Black people, Latino people, Hispanic people, quote unquote white people. What is your nationality? Because you may be lost at sea beyond the sea. And if you have not declared yourself to be alive, then the contrary stands as law, by contract, by way of your acquiescence, your silence, of not rebutting these claims that were made behind closed doors. So back then, operating in admiralty law, become familiar, because this is what they are operating under in commerce. Admiralty law, that's what that flag in the courtroom or in any other public office, you see a flag with a gold fringe around it. That represents admiralty law. That is them letting you know that this is the law of the sea. So if you're lost at sea, can they see you? Right? The state, London, took custody of everybody and all their property, which means rights as well. It's synonymous with rights and estate and title and interest into a trust. So this is why trust is the order of the day. Because you must know that it's all about trust, which means a right of property or a right of right, also called droit. So if we actually go to Google real quick to substantiate some of the stuff I'm explaining, for example, droit. A double right. So not even just a right, a double right. So you see the right of possession and the right of property. The right of property, A droit is a legal title, claim, or due. So we go back. So into a trust, your rights is in a trust. They subrogated your rights. They put that in the trust. That's what you call the trust rest, the thing of the trust. So you become a thing in law, and not recognized as a natural person, a natural flesh, living blood, sentient being with inheritable rights. The state became the trustee. So understand that there's always three parties to a trust. And the state became the trustee, right? So let's look up what a trustee is real quick, if you're not familiar. An individual person or member of a board given control or powers of administration of property and trust, right, with a legal obligation to administer it solely for the purposes specified. Trustee has been holding all titles to the people. So the people became property of another. Are you understanding what we're looking at here? People became property. And that is very sad. Hold on one second, family. Yeah, so people became property of the Vatican, Rome. Rome set this all up. This is where civil law comes into place, because civil law is dealing with civil rights of men and women, and not even necessarily human rights, right? So to the people and property, until the living. See, we're always talking about the dead, and we're always worshiping the dead, and we practice death culture. When will we acknowledge the living? You think the Most High, creator of the heavens, Son, and tone as Yeshua, you think he wanted you to worship him when he was dead or when he was alive? And I mean, because when he was, I can't even necessarily say that because we wasn't around that time. But for those people who were there at that time, you don't think he wanted them to, acknowledge him more while he's living than dead? I'm sure he would want them to acknowledge him being a living man who comes back to reclaim his titles. So a living man comes back to reclaim those titles. He can also claim damages. When capital letters are used anywhere in a name, this always referred to a legal I'm sorry, guys. referred to a legal entity. Fiction, right? Company or corporation. No exceptions, which means if your name is all capital letters, then it represents a Cestui Que Vie trust. Pronounced Cestui. Common term in New Zealand and Australia. Straw man. They refer to you as a straw man when They issue documents in your name in all capital letters. It represents a straw man. It represents a Cestui Que trust. So it's also a common term in the United States of America or Canada. These are the legal entity fiction created and owned by the government who created it. It is like owning a share in the stock market. You may own a share, but it is still a share of the stock. So we became the stock in the stock market. And we have people who own shares in these stocks. Legally, we are considered to be a fiction, a concept or idea expressed as a name, which actually only applies to Christians and also applies to corporations. We, the true Paleo-American, Autochthonous Aboriginal Moors, we have titles and appellations. We don't have names. We are not Christians. So, also a symbol. That legal person has no consciousness. It is a juristic person. Of. You have to stop right there. It's of, or relating to the law, to law. So of law or relating to law. Or to legal rights and obligations. So it is a juristic person. Ens legis. What is an ens legis? What is an ens legis, y'all? I know sometimes our attention span is short, but what is an ens legis? It is a creature of the law, an artificial being. So that's what we've become. Artificial beings by claiming to be Black and other titles or designations, I should say, names that designate slavery. It's artificial. So a name, word written on a piece of paper. This traces back to 1666. London is an independent city-state, just like Vatican is an independent city-state, just like Washington, D.C. is an independent city-state. The Crown is an unincorporated association. Why unincorporated? It's private. That's what you are. The Temple Bar is in London. Every lawyer called to the bar swears allegiance to the Temple Bar. You can't get called without swearing this allegiance. Our only way out of this way out is to reclaim your dead entity, straw man. There's many ways to do that. We'll get into that a little later, but that the Crown created, become the executor, and then collapse the called Cestui Que trust, and forgive yourself of your debts, and then remove yourself from the aberrality law that holds you in custody. Yep. This is why you need representation when involved in legal matters, because you're dead. The legal fiction is a construct on paper, an estate in trust. You have an estate in trust. They put it in trust and they made the state the trustee. But then flipped it on you and made you the trustee when you got into some shit. Now you're liable for the debt. Now the state don't want to take liability for the charge or the claim or the debt. So now they have you in there under the fire, and you don't even recognize that you have an estate in trust, and that you need to terminate that trust that they created in your name, in your title, and put it in your own trust. When you get a bill or summons from court, it is always in capital letters, similar to tombstones and graveyards. Are we in tombstones and graveyards? Are we? I don't know. Capital letters signify death. That's why on a death certificate, your name is in all capital letters. That's why the birth certificate is actually also a death certificate. They are writing to the dead legal fiction. A legal fiction was created when someone informed the government that there was a new vessel in town based upon your birth. Birth certificates are issued to us by the doctors, just as ships are given birth certificates at the dock. It's about commerce, admiralty law, law of the seas. We're dealing with water. We're dealing with water. You see, this is why we are Moors, because we ruled the world, the 7 continents. We ruled the world for a very long time until we fell. If you don't know the true history, the Moors ruled the world. It's about commerce. We have a lot of things to fix. We are trustees of the land. We're to take care of this land, but look at us here destroying it. We come from our mother's waters, right? Oh, I just mentioned water, right? Your mother has a birth canal just like a ship. The ship moves by the sea current just as we are able to move by the currency. This is why Federal Reserve notes, which we call money, paper in our pockets, greenbacks, that doesn't generate currency. That doesn't generate electricity whatsoever. So how is that currency? Where is the currency coming from? You're the currency, because the current runs through you. So you're the one creating money, creating currency. All of this information relates to how the general public are still legally tied through maritime admiralty law. Through this ancient legal construct, we can be easily controlled and duped. Learning about your legal fiction helps you to unlock yourself. Otherwise, you are just an empty vessel floating on the sea of commerce. Parents are tricked into registering the birth of their babies. In about 1837, the Births, Deaths, and Marriages Act was formed in the UK, and the post of Registrar General was established. His job was to collect all the data from the churches. So your pastors are involved, who are getting a kickback, which held the records of birth. So they're working with the crown, who established all of these churches. Regis, the queen or crown, all people are seen to be in custody of the crown, your head. This is relating to your consciousness. This is relating to your mind, control of your mind, and the usefulness of mind, and why we should be taking heed to the obvious facts in front of our face. It is no longer hidden. This allows people to function in commerce and to accept the benefits, privileges, opposite of rights. It can be taken away at any time if it's not a right. A right can be taken away at any time, but it will only be by force and coercion, which makes it void. It's not just. It's not equity provided by state. We have to understand who we are as men and women and how we can relate in the system. The city of London is a century for markets where merchants work. Merchants. Then there is mercantile law. It comes from admiralty. Look at the symbols in your city courts that relate to admiralty. So where you have, so to show proof of the Moors ruling the world, let's go to the Library of Congress. So the Moors ruled the world, man. They surely did. And we're all Moors by birth, because we were all in our mother's wombs in her waters, Murray. So this is Library of Congress, Washington, D.C., right? 222141. Right. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7, 11, 12. Because we're dealing with the circle, right? Right. Everything can be circled off. We're dealing with 360 degrees. 9. We're dealing with the number 9, right? We're dealing with I. Because you see the eye, your eyes dealing with the number 9. And 7 is another representation of that as well. So this is some deep science. See, the letter G is the 7th letter. You see how this is also a 7 in its own little way, and this as well, but just in different angles, right? Everywhere you see an angel, angle, there's always an angel at 90 degrees somewhere. See the angel right here, right? You see the arc. You see the arc. You see the angels right there. Yeah, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And I, self, law, and master. So I'm gonna just quickly run through this. I don't want to make this extremely long. But there are interesting and effective literary characteristics about CMB's written zodiac constitution, which go beyond the fact of its being clear, simple, and direct. More scholars would take note that it maintains the ancient Moabite Moorish scientific, metaphysical, and spiritual approach to the number 7 in harmony with the natural constitution of man's makeup. And man includes woman and man, by the way. Other learned intellectuals of the varied and advanced Gnostic schools of the world and of government no doubt must appreciate its uncluttered directness and integrity towards justice. It was not readily available to the masses due to the nature of limited access to Moorish schools of learning and the suppression of information practices of United States, U.S. society, politicians, and other secret societies, policies of clubism, culture. The true history and law of North America has never been revealed to the subjugated masses. Its anti-social practice is part of the necessary socialization tools for maintaining veiled economic, political, and bureaucratic servitude in the Americas, particularly in the North Gate, right? So let's get to it. Yeah. So check this out for yourself, right? So let's just get into some specifics. The 12 signs of the zodiac. Article 1. This is in the Library of Congress. The code of mathematics, scaling from 0 to 9. And the signs of geometry, G, comprise the constitution of the living Moorish nation of North America, referred to as Negroes, who ruled the world And the 7 C's by the 12 signs of the zodiac and the science of geometry G for 1196 years to the Amazon Dutch German Catholic priesthood fathers of the Revolution of 1789 and the Sisterhood Magna Charta Emancipation Proclamation Union Society of White Supremacy in 1863 North America. So there you go. There you go. So you guys take a look at that. So where you have commerce and money, you also have justice and injury. You need to understand the bankruptcy. There is no money, people. They took that back in 1933. There ain't no money. You can't pay for things. The only thing you're doing is exchanging debt for more debt. That's bankruptcy. That's not solvent. That's not solvency, I should say. It's not legitimate. It's actually dead because bankrupts are dead in law. And we're participating in bankruptcy. You don't believe that we're in bankruptcy? I have to convince you that we are participating in bankruptcy. So let me show you that we're in bankruptcy. And I need to ask you a serious question. So US national debt right now is 23 trillion. So let me ask you a question. How this debt is going to be paid back when this keeps going up? Please answer that question. Do you see that going down or do you see it going up? So how is this going to get paid off? You have your share in it, right? Ask yourself. The debt ain't going down, y'all. The debt ain't going down. It's outstanding debt. And they're trying to say that you're going to help us pay it. And it ain't even your debt because they created it. Before you can understand the judiciary, we have accepted the claim to accept the summons, yet only the debt can be summoned. Only the dead can be summoned. So when you get a summons, they're summoning the dead. They're saying you're dead. There's an obligation to accept any liability which has been created. We are operating in admiralty. A not guilty plea or any plea admits jurisdiction. The straw man, aka legal fiction, is always guilty. Barristers and solicitors make a living out of creating controversy. By creating a controversy, you become liable for the case. So, yeah, check this out, y'all. I'll see about doing the part 2, but to give a further in-depth understanding, but look it up. This is where you can find it. Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666. We've been declared dead. We need to prove we're alive. It's all semantics. It's games that they're playing, right? This is a chessboard. So let's just understand the rules of the game and start, So, like, yeah, it's petty stuff, man. It's petty stuff. So we need to understand trust and start setting up our own trust and protecting ourselves, because we're in 2020, y'all. We're in 2020. We are in 2020, people. Right? So let's do what we gotta do. trust is the order of the day, and that's going to be the next topic. Setting up your trust and protecting your estate from escheatment and hypothecation. Is the process of identifying customers' deposit, checking, savings, etc., and time deposit accounts that are considered abandoned, and remitting the funds to the appropriate state if the consumer cannot be contacted to reactivate the bank account. Now, this definition is very vague. It's a matter of fact, you see the difference between the definitions. Escheat is a common law doctrine. So you see, we're dealing with common sense. Common law doctrine that transfers the real property of a person who has died. Remember, they say you're dead without heirs to the crown or state. It serves to ensure that property is not left in limbo without recognized ownership. So they're saying that you abandoned your ship. You abandoned your ownership of the legal fiction, which you were to claim, but you didn't make a claim. So now it stands as law. So y'all, I'm gonna sign out with that. Please share this video if you feel it will, open their eyes in what's going on with this current system as we know it. It's dealing with trust, it's dealing with our properties, it's dealing with our rights, and these people are doing everything they can to make sure we don't know our property and rights, our estate. So I'm signing out. This is for informational purposes only. And that's it, y'all. Peace and love. Ashe.